I'd like to talk through with you what the main components of this course, The Science of Happiness, are going to be. Number one, you're going to encounter videos. And these videos are from myself and Dacher, the main instructors for the course, but also from experts and luminaries in the field that have important things to say about the topics that we'll be covering. The reading for this course will include articles from the Greater Good Science Center that we've published over the years on the science of happiness. We'll also direct you to original scientific studies. We may also give you excerpts from books like Born to be Good by Dacher Keltner or The How of Happiness. We may also suggest that you read full chapters from these books, but to be explicit, this is suggested and not required. This course is going to offer what we're calling happiness practices throughout. And these are activities or exercises that have been drawn from published studies that report significant impact on happiness. These exercises or happiness practices are ungraded. It's your homework, but we can't really gauge how well you did it. All we're going to do is ask you how often, how long, how frequently you did it, because that will tell us something about how impactful it is. The real reason we want to offer these practices, exercises, and happiness activities is really to give you some practical tools for applying what you're learning about in this course to your day-to-day life. We're not only trying to tell you about science, but we're also trying to give you some real tangible ways to incorporate it into your own life and perhaps enhance your sustainable happiness. And one thing I'd like to say about these activities and exercises or happiness practices is that sometimes they're going to feel unfamiliar. They're foreign, they're ways of thinking or spending time that maybe you're not used to. And in fact, sometimes they come across as maybe a little too touchy-feely or hokey or unnatural. My only advice in that moment is give it a fair chance. Try it out, see how it feels, and explore your own responses to it and ask yourself where are those coming from? Because it very well may be that if you give it 3 or 4 chances, try it more than once, you'll start to embrace it in a different way than your first judgments about it. So research across the board on these kinds of practices and exercises almost unanimously shows that the more people do it, more authentically they do it, the more impact that it has. For these practices and activities and exercises, we'll always provide instructions on edX, so we'll tell you how to do them, but we won't always ask you to do the actual activity on edX. And sometimes the more appropriate thing to do is going to be to write something down in a notebook of your own. So can I encourage you right at the end of this video to go and find a notebook that you dedicate to your science of happiness, sort of practical exercises and activities. Another part of the course is going to be moderated discussion forums. So frequently throughout the course, we're going to end a unit or a section with a question about the last material that we've been covering. And it's really helpful for you to engage at this point, to tell us about how you're feeling or what you think or what kinds of insights you've discovered by interacting with the material from this course, and to crowdsource some of the questions and answers and ideas from your fellow students. So these discussion forums are really important, but again, they're ungraded. The next thing that you'll encounter when you're proceeding through the science of happiness are problem sets. So problem sets will be sets of 2 to 5 questions that will appear throughout the course, and they are graded, and we'll talk about the breakdown shortly. For the problem sets, you'll see a couple of multiple choice or fill in the blank sorts of questions typically. They'll be distributed around the videos and readings, and you should think of it sort of like class participation. For the ungraded questions, the ungraded elements of your course, you're going to be asked to or invited to complete surveys. Some of these we've already talked about, the pre- and post-course surveys. We'll also be asking you to check in, and remember, checking in involves responding to a few questions about how you're feeling or how you've been feeling over the past couple days. These do show up. Your check-in scores do show up on your progress bar in edX, but they do not factor into your grade, your course grade at all. They're really there for for you so that you can see how they change over the course of the 8 to 10 weeks that you're engaging with the Science of Happiness. The other thing that we'll offer to you or invite you to complete are quizzes, little sort of informal quizzes on the Greater Good Science Center website. And these are really fun because they actually provide you with feedback. So it might be a quiz about how emotionally intelligent you are, and you'll respond to several questions and then receive a score and some feedback about what typically it means if you have that score. Finally, we'll be presenting you with course-wide polls. And what I would say is that even though these components are ungraded, in other words, they don't actually factor into what you'll end up with, I'd like to just suggest and encourage you to get involved with them, stay engaged, because the more you do that, the more you're going to get out of the course. Let's talk about the exams for the Science of Happiness. After week 4, there'll be a midterm, and after week 8, there'll be a final. The exams are graded. The kinds of questions that you can expect to see on the exam are multiple choice, fill in the blank, things like that. How's your grade going to be calculated? Well, the rough breakdown is that your problem sets, right? Those graded problem sets are going to make up 30% of your grade. The midterm is going to make up another 30% of your grade, and the final exam will comprise 40% of your grade. And you'll be able to sort of watch the problem set scores appear on your progress bar, and the midterm when it occurs, and after the final you'll be able to see how all of these scores factor into your grade for the course. So let's go on next to really get started with what is the Science of Happiness.